What is up, my fellow writing addicts? I'm Marissa, and today we are discussing quiet horror. Now, like most of you, I had no idea what the hell this is, so I'm here to break it down. So it's essentially a subgenre of the much bigger and obvious horror genre. Now, quiet horror is supposed to stimulate your intellect, evoke dark emotions, conjure imagery, and tease you with clues. That's the whole point. For those of you who can't visualize what the hell I'm talking about, I do have some examples that I think most people are familiar with. So there's The Turning of the Screw, the 1898 version, not the 2019 version. Kind of gives you the same effect, but that one is far superior. And of course, the more recent, The Haunting of Bly Manor. Now these two, in my opinion, basically demonstrate quiet horror very, very well. And the reason I give you film examples instead of more obvious book ones is because this genre is mostly film than literature. There are some books that fall under it, but not a lot. It is mostly film. So because this genre is so unknown to the general public, a history for this is basically non-existent. I really couldn't find anything. Because I specifically looked for books, I tried to find out where the literature started, because typically books like predate the transition to movies. So I was trying to look there and I couldn't find anything. So if you do look for, quiet horror books, you're going to have to look under either horror or psychological thriller, because even on Amazon, that's what they tend to fall under. At least the examples that I found and I put into this episode, that's where they fall under. So please keep that in mind when I give examples later. If you I'm just gonna search it, because it's not gonna go well. So because the examples I'm going to give you later on in this video do fall under either horror or psychological thriller, so do the elements and tropes that I had to collect, because researching, this fucking thing is a bitch, unfortunately. I'm sorry, but that's just the truth of it. But I did use my best judgment to make sure that it was tailored to this subgenre. So the first element I have for you is that the quiet darkness holds a message that is both cleverly hidden and symbolic. And this essentially means that, like the turning of the screw, you don't know the entire time if she is crazy or if there's something supernatural is happening. Is she being haunted? And you're given clues onto both sides. Like, her mother is technically crazy. She's been diagnosed, but she also sees some things that mental illness can't actually explain away. And as you go throughout the film, it'll give you more clues as to what that is, and it'll usually have a message for you to take home. I don't want to spoil the turning of the screw, but at the end of it, you typically find a message like, how we treat women affects their mental health. I don't know. Again, I don't want to give it away. So I swear it was something else. I swear that actually has more open-ended, but it doesn't matter. Also, guys, it's dark. And I mean, this could also be thematically and tonally, but I mean, literally, it's dark. It usually happens at night in these long corridors. The lights are off. They have to either buy a flashlight or candlelight. It's just dark. So that's typically a trope that I do enjoy. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it plays on the imagination. Also, you don't see a lot of visceral violence. There's no one's head getting cut off. There's no, you don't see someone getting an axe to the chest and gushing blood. None of that happens. It's, a lot more subtle. There's also no slasher villains. Freddy or Jason isn't going to enter, this random house that's been subtle this whole time and be like, I'm going to kill you. That's not what happens. And of course, following this, you don't see any, what they call cheap thrills, where there's no cheap, jump scares. There's no, the music doesn't typically take over too much. I see that a lot. There's they stay away from the normal, quote unquote, horror cliches. So that's what I mean by cheap thrills. There's also just no over-the-top gore. It's not going to rain blood, thank God. There's no one getting their, ankles cut off, and again, poodles and just oodles of blood, because I can't speak English today. But there's none of that. It's all very quiet. It's all very psychological. Another trope that you'll see is that the car won't start or has a delayed start. I don't really like this trope, but I also understand that it's more logical. If you have a car, because how else do they get there? And they have it there, and something scary happens, of course they're going to try to leave. And of course, you can't have them leave, so the car can't start. Or if it does start, it's going to lead up to a jump scare, and maybe have them crash the car, which leads them back to the house. Because it's usually a house, which, fuck that. Then I ruined my own car. Ugh. It's also very fast paced, it's very high suspense. Of course it is. It's a horror slash thriller. It's gotta have you on the edge of your seat, it's gotta make you feel like something's breathing down your neck, and it's gotta get your blood pumping. Next known element, and I think this is just in horror in general, but especially quiet horror, is long, dark passages. I know I said it's dark, but that's just kind of overall. Again, it's night, the electricity goes out, whatever, it's just naturally dark. For long, dark passages, it's like they enter the asylum. If you play Phasmophobia, you know kind of what I'm talking about, where it's just a long, dark corridor, and even if you have a light, no matter how much light you seem to have, you can't see how far it goes. You don't know if something's waiting for you on the other side. And of course, because the script hates all of us, really, the characters have to walk down that corridor, thus taking us with them. No, run away, never come back. But of course, there's usually a defense incentive, like, I must save the child at the end of this corridor. At this point, I'd be like, no, fuck the kid, run. And the last element that I have for you is that, of course, for the climax, the character has to win by using their intelligence and their wits instead of brute strength. It's kind of like you can't punch a ghost. That's not how that works. You have to figure out how to banish it, how to put its soul at rest. It's your wits. Yeah, there might be a little bit of physical obstacles to get over, but it's mainly their intelligence that's going to save their asses. Some books under this category are, of course, The Turning of the Screw by Henry James, The Snowman's Children by Glenn Hirschberg, Come Closer by Sarah Gran, and Cujo by Stephen King. Now, while I haven't personally read any quiet horror, I am so interested in this subgenre. I do like watching the movies for it now that I know what it is. They're my favorite type of horror movies. I hate slasher films. I don't know why. Either the gore bugs me because it's too realistic, or it's just silly. I can't do it. I started Raining Blood in the new, it was some new remake, and because there's 50 billion of them, and I just couldn't do it. I was like, fuck this shit in the ass. I hated it so much. So yeah, I definitely need to get into this. So basically, guys, that's all I have for you today. And tell me down in the comments below a book that I should read that you think just emulates quiet horror. I'm so excited to see your recommendations because I just love reading. You can also tell me on Twitter at writing_addicts or on Facebook at facebook.com/writingaddicts. And if you send me a picture of the book, you can send me on Instagram at writing.addicts. And of course, please hit that subscribe button. It would mean the world to me. Hit that like button and hit the notification bell so YouTube tells you when I upload. And I will see you next time. Bye, lovelies!